In addition to attributes, attributes such as these that describe and tell about the particular object that you have, you can also have what are called methods. The attributes describe it, and the methods are the verbs what the object can do. What can a dog do? Well, a dog can bark. If I want to create a method to describe a dog barking, all I need to do is this. All the attributes are up here, and attributes, while they don't have to be done before the methods, they always should be done before the methods. Programmers will expect to see attributes first and then methods next. The method, as you can see, looks a whole lot like a function definition. In fact, basically, an attribute is a function definition with the following conditions. It's indented inside of a class, and the first parameter will always be self. This self allows us to refer back to this class and say, basically, my age, my name, and my weight. In order to use this, I can't just go down here and do bark, because at this point in time I've got two problems. First off, the computer doesn't know what dog should bark, and number two, I don't even have a dog created. If you remember, when I define a class, it tells the computer what a dog is, but I haven't created a dog yet. If I want to create a dog, I might do something like this. All right, this creates a dog. And even though I only have one dog, the computer won't assume it's that one dog that I want to have bark. I need to do my dog dot bark. Now I can save this, and I can go ahead and run it. And it runs just fine. The bark method is called. Unlike before with methods, whatever I have in here goes here. But in this case, I've got a variable right here and no variables here. I've got one variable here and 0 variables here. The number of parameters normally with functions should match 1 for 1. Well, what is actually happening in this particular case is the following. The computer takes the reference to my dog that you have and puts it in for self. Basically, the first parameter of any particular call to a method will always be self, and it will always put in whatever you're pointing to right here. Therefore, you don't have to restate what dog you're talking about when you call this. I can use that fact to add a little bit more to this bark method that I've got. I can put in here that I want self.name says bark. Now when I run this, it doesn't print the dog's name because I haven't set it, but if I go in here and set the dog, and run it, it's going to go ahead and says Spot says bark. The most common thing, even for programmers who are really experienced to forget in working with this, it's really easy to state name right here and forget the self. This self is very important. Basically, this is what says that it's this dog that you're talking about and not some other dog, because one dog could perhaps refer to another dog when you're doing the programming. You need to make sure that the computer knows that you're talking about the dog that was passed in. That dog's name is the one that you're talking about and not some other dog. That's what the self dot will help the program figure out. Because when I've got that, I can also create two dogs here. I'm going to head and copy this code, and I'm going to do my dog 2. I can take my dog bark and my dog 2 bark, and when my dog barks, it's going to print out Spot, and when my dog 2 barks, it's going to print out Fluffy. At this point, I've got two dogs that are in existence. Dog number 1 was created here. Dog number 2 was created here. Each dog has its own copy of each of the different attributes. Attributes can also be changed. For example, if I were to set the dog's weight right here, this is the 10-pound dog, and my dog 2's weight is 5-pound dog. It's a really small dog, one of those toy dogs. Okay, at this point we've got my dog weight is 10, my dog 2 weight is 5, and I could add another method in here. What else do dogs do? Well, dogs poop a lot. And then when the dog poops, we'll just go ahead and say self.weight minus equals 0.25, and now the dog's just a little bit lighter weight after he's done that. When I run this program, right now nothing in particular happens, but I can print my dog's weight, and I can print my dog 2's weight. If I do that here, and then I have one of the dogs poop, and print the weight again, I can see here in my output that these two numbers are printed by these two lines, and the other two numbers that I've got going right here are printed by these two lines. I've still got 5 and 5, but the 10 goes down to 9.75 because of this function right here. When you create a class, remember all attributes should be right here. Following that should be all the methods. There should be nothing else inside of a class. You cannot put print statements or other code and just have it hang in the class unless it either defines a variable or it's inside a method. If I try to put in any other code, then the computer will become confused because there's no point in that code if there's no hook for that code to be called. It has to exist inside of a method. Remember, classes, a list of attributes, followed by a list of methods, nothing else. And all those methods need to have self as the first parameter. This is another example, something similar to perhaps what you might have in a graphics program. In this case, I've got a class and it represents a ball. I've got it named appropriately. The first letter in this case is a capital letter, and I've got open and close parentheses. Everything with that class is indented. All my attributes are listed right after that. In fact, I even put comments in here. The ball has an XY location. The ball has a change X and change Y. The ball has a size, and the ball has a color. I can put all of these different attributes describing something as simple as a ball and put it together so that when I create a ball and pass a ball around inside of a function, it's going to take all of those attributes and move them along as well. These right here are all of the different methods that go with the ball class. A ball can move and a ball can be drawn. In this particular case, I'm bringing along another parameter. I've got parameter 1 here, which is passed automatically if you remember, and parameter 2 right here. This will need to be passed in addition to what I had before. I can refer to the color of the ball. Remember, I need to have self dot in front of it. Really important not to forget to put that in there. Self.x, self.y, self.size. When I draw the ball, makes it really easy for me to manage quite a few different bouncing balls around the screen when all of these different types of attributes and what can happen to the ball are all put together inside of one class. When you create a ball, the code would look something like this ahead of your main program loop. I'm not going to put the entire program in, but in this particular case, this creates the ball, and then I set all of the attributes right here. Really similar to what we've done before. Inside the main program loop, I would have something like this. I'd move the ball, and then I would draw the ball to the screen. Really all that's required. Remember, I don't have to pass in self. The reference to the ball comes in automatically, and in the case of line number 2, the draw procedure, if you remember, took in 2 parameters, self and screen. Since I don't need to pass in self, I can just pass in screen, and then I'm set.